Hi, John Valvano here, and before we start building a printed circuit board, let's think about how we're going to use it. And so what I want you to do is look forward to Lab 9, okay? And ask yourself the question, what kind of game you're going to play, all right? And so next what we're going to do is, given the kind of game you envision for your Lab 9, we had to make some decisions. How many switches do you need? How many LEDs would you like? There are two different liquid crystal displays. Do you want it one, the other, or both? Now, if you're in 319H, you could make Lab 8 run, but if you're in 319K, then you don't need to do 319H wireless lab. Okay. There's a couple of ways for the sound to come out. Just like your Lab 6, you could hook up headphones or a speaker to the DAC and it'll be quiet. Or you could have a headphone jack going to an amplifier, or you could even put the amplifier on the printed circuit board itself. You have to make that decision. Now, does your game require a joystick? A joystick is essentially two slide pots or two rotational pots. You have to buy it, of course, but this is the time to decide. Now, most people use the 5-bit DAC they built in Lab 6, but just in case you wanted to know, there's a 12-bit DAC already on your microcontroller that you could use for your game. All right, so that was step one. Think about all the inputs and outputs your game has to be, and make a list. All right. Now that we have that list, we have to decide which pins to connect to which devices. And this is the thing that most people make mistake in the first part of PCB camp, as they inadvertently connect one microcontroller pin to two different devices. That's not a good idea, of course. Okay? And so what we're going to do is going to make a list of each pin that we are going to use that's available on the Launchpad and what's it connected to. Now, some of the things we don't really have much choice for. You know, PA 10 and 11 is the connection to the PC through the terminal window. PA 22 and PA 8 is your Lab 8. The LCD is connected to these pins. The slide pot for Lab 7 is connected to PB18. Your DAC was PB0 through PB4, okay, et cetera, et cetera. And so the important thing is to make sure you don't double count. In other words, use a pin for one type of I/O and have it inadvertently connected to two different devices, to make sure that each pin has exactly one purpose and not two or three. All right. And so the rest of this is pretty straightforward. You just go lab by lab. In Lab 2, you hooked up switches and LEDs. Well, hook them up again. Right? In Lab 5, you made a DAC. Now, you made a 5-bit DAC, so you're going to wire up that 5-bit DAC. In Lab 6, you're going to connect up the liquid crystal display. And now the starter files actually have both the Adafruit and the High Let Go connected. And if you want to have them both, you can put them both on there. We don't care. But if you could simplify your layout, if you have one of the displays and not the other, you can delete the one you don't have. An interesting thing about the displays is both the Adafruit and the High Let Go actually have a secure digital card. And if you connect up the card select on the Adafruit or the card select on the High Let Go, you can actually have both the LCD and the secure digital card. Again, that's your decision. Most people hook up the slide pot in the natural way associated with Lab 7. And now the question comes, is there a way to use jumpers? What a jumper is 3 pins, male pins on your printed circuit board, such that you can attach a jumper connector either between 1 and 2 or between 2 and 3, or neither 1, 2, or 3. And you can see from this configuration, what it's doing is allowing you to connect either the slide pot or the DAC to the Texas logic analyzer, to Texas oscilloscope. All right. This is the circuit for lab 8. You might as well hook it up. Doesn't cost you anything. These are the circuits for the 319H. This is a high current liquid, high current light emitting diode that outputs infrared. Again, if you're in 319H, you may want to wire it up. And then the other half of 319H is the receiver. This is the infrared receiver. Again, if you're in 319K, you can leave this part off. But if you're in 319H, you might as well think about adding the LED and the infrared sensor. All right, so that's it. I want you to go through the process, figure out what your inputs and outputs are, and make a list of the pins that you want to assign to those input outputs.